Hello and welcome to what I know we dubbed it. I can't remember whether we dubbed it Rob and Geoff talk about the Mandalorian or Geoff.
Yeah, Rob and Geoff talk about the Mandalorian.
I think it might be the other way around though, but
Well, it is the only time that we really chat to each other. I'm not trying to guilt you live on the show, but I really only agreed to it because this is the best way to get sort of FaceTime with you. I don't even like Star Wars. I hate it.
But we had a nice meal at the Indian the other day. Not the Indian.
Yeah. In the last days before the dystopia descended, we was
that alliteration? Was that alliteration accidental? Or was it deliberate? Is that something you said before?
This is another vocabulary pull-up. I actually got it wrong. I said the dystopia descended. Distended isn't where it's descended. Distended is something that happens to your abdomen.
Yeah. A distended dystopia is what we're currently experiencing now.
And as are they in the time frame of the Mandalorian as we join.
Absolutely, yes. And we're here to discuss episode 3. That was incredible link work, by the way.
Well, episode, interesting, straight out of the gate, chapter. They're calling them chapter.
Yes. I just think if you want to call it a chapter, it's got to be longer than 42 minutes or however long it is. Do you know what I mean?
It was another 30-minute. It was another 30-minute. But what a 30 minutes, though.
Oh my God. Can I just tell you something? Last time you and I chatted about this, we were like, we're settled into the Mandalorian. Let's see what happens. And holy shit.
Well, it really fairly rollicked along. I mean, you just saw, if for example, the first 3 episodes had been a film that you'd gone to the cinema to see, you'd have walked out of there absolutely buzzing. I mean, obviously, we're not going to go straight to the end, but the Mandalorians coming out to fight en masse. I mean, it felt like a moment. Now, already in this show, you've had Mandalorian attacks a Jawa sandcrawler, which I just didn't realise that I wanted to see that, but I did. Before we move on anymore, Fat Mandalorian. Is that Jon Favreau in the big Fat Mandalorian?
Maybe. I think
he's big, isn't he? Like that rocket was doing work, wasn't it?
Yeah. Those jets were definitely earning their money, weren't they?
Well, I think he probably uses them just to walk normally as well, like sort of like those mobility scooters, just to get around the shopping centre.
So we kind of open up with he's dropping Baby Yoda off to Werner Herzog,
By the way, a bit of research on the names. I realised last time we were just calling them by their actor names.
Yes, sure. No, what did we say? Nolte Udnort.
So Werner Herzog is, and so I was thinking, what's his name? And his name's the client. So he's actually they've given him.
So when you said the client, I thought you were being less informative than me, but actually you're being more informative.
No, they've gone for, along with the blurg, they've gone for another fairly fucking lazy name there. The client. I found out also he's not called Space Apollo Creed, by the way. He's got a name as well, which I've got written on my thing here. Wait a minute. Carl Weathers. He's called Grief Karga.
Okay. Well, that was worth. I don't think it was worth the gravitas you added to it, but it definitely was worth knowing. But
Apollo Creed.
I've got a bit of a problem with Apollo Creed because I thought his performance in this, I wasn't a fan of. I've got to be honest with you.
Wow, I'm totally the other. I thought we were gonna share a moment here where his 80s-ness is actually weirdly apt.
It bumped me, man. And shall I tell you? Can I tell you the moment it bumped me? All the stuff later on when he's he surrounds the Mandalorian and all that, and they're all, it's all that tense moment, which we can talk about in more detail in a minute. All of that bit I'm fine with. Do you know the bit that bumped me? It's when the Mandalorian's got his new suit, right? It's got all that sorted out. And then you see Apollo Creed sitting in that bar with all the bounty hunters, and one of them's come up to complain about the fact that the Mandalorian was successful. And then he goes, "What's the matter? You got the job and you couldn't get it done. Get the hell out of here." The way he delivers that line was... It
was a bit like Predator, wasn't it? And also, but he has to do one of the most corny things in the series so far is at the end, after he supplies the Mandalorian on his ship, appears to get shot, when he kind of pulls the bit of Beskar steel out of the thing, which is one of those things as a director, it's kind of annoying, but I guess they were left with no option. We had to know. Well, did we have to know that he'd lived? All we needed to do was see him in the next episode, but then he would have had to put in some clunky dialogue where he went, yeah, and you're right, actually, given how badly he handled that bit of dialogue, if he in a subsequent chapter had to go, well, thank God I put that Beskar steel in my jacket just before he shot me at the end of chapter 3. So we discussed last time about the strange age of this thing, that he's both 50 and 2, which means that potentially in Return of the Jedi, the Yoda. This is
return of the Jedi.
It's a weird Jewish. We'll get demonetized for that. In Return of the Jedi, that Yoda was in his early 20s. Right? Who's trying to get Baby Yoda, or the child, to give his technical name? Who's trying to get him, and why do they want him? Can only be, for me, I'm thinking, is this a Palpatine thing that ties into the sequel trilogy? Snoke, because they know this creature is powerful. They trying to harness his, like, tell him that he's bad Sith, like, because he's so young, he doesn't even know. Just raise him as a Sith.
Sorry, you know, when all of these theories, by the way, are excellent. Yeah. Can I ask you a question? When you're watching The Mandalorian, when you're watching it, did that all go?
I've watched it a second time.
Thank God. Do you know what? Because I just thought to myself, I'm operating on such a lower level. You started to make me feel paranoid about my own fucking.
No. The first time I'm just sitting there like this, going, wow, jetpack. He's a bit fat.
So in the first chapter of this, I told you, or I expressed a certain level of discomfort in the way that the Mandalorians shut the doors on little baby Yoda, right? I found that, or the child.
Yeah. It sat with you for a while.
It did, yeah. Now, in this chapter, we discover that part of the Mandalorian's childhood is there's some sort of invasion. His parents are running along with who is him as a child, and then they put him into a little bunker thing, and then you see it from his point of view, the door's shut on him, and then there's an explosion. Now, he's been through a door-based trauma. For him to then fail to see how horrendous that is for a child to have a door shut on him like that.
Yeah, but Ron,
I couldn't believe it.
Ron, most paedophiles were abused as children. Yes, they were. So I think
the helmet thing. Never taken the helmet off. I guess you can only be issued with a helmet once your skull is not going to grow anymore, right?
Well, that's a very good point.
Otherwise,
she said, have you ever taken your helmet off? He went, no. And there was something about the pause that, because obviously he's got the helmet on, he probably went like that. But like, you're not just, with all those other Mandalorians around, you're going to go, I'll take it off. Sometimes it makes me feel claustrophobic. I've had panic attacks. He just went, no, I haven't taken it off ever. Because what else are you going to say?
Yeah, that is true. You're under a lot of peer pressure. You're surrounded by people with helmets on.
You've got Fat Mando standing to your left.
Yeah. I actually thought Fat Mando got the better of him in that little skirmish.
Well, it was very strange the way that it unfurled, where do you wear a helmet? And he was like, yeah. She went, do you wear a helmet? This is the way.
What's
the way? Really?
Right. And what are we supposed to take from that had he taken the helmet off, then this wouldn't be the way? Is that what it seemed to be?
We've had Nick Naughty's Ugnaught going, I have spoken, when he hasn't really did anything up. We've got the Armourer, by the way. That's that woman's name. The character. He's the Armourer. Again, they're really not doing the work on the names for this. And she's just gone, this is the way. And they go, yeah, this is absolutely.
I think proud heritage of giving directions to people or something. I don't know. I don't know where that saying comes from.
To be honest, I think I could see how the Mandalorians got dominated by the Empire, where just someone just goes, this is the way. They go, let's follow that guy. He said it's the way.
I know.
How could he be wrong? And there's another fascinating philosophical moment in that moment with the Armourer, where she says about you can have the signature of the bullhorn or the mudhorn, as it's called. And then he goes, well, I can't because it was my enemy, or I didn't know.
Yeah, enemy, and he didn't know he was my enemy.
Yeah, and all the other Mandalorians going, oh God, this guy makes me sick. He's so fucking
Such a fucking teacher's pet. Twat. Why don't you just accept the Mudhorn, you prick? Nobody would have known.
And they were,
Do you know what I mean?
their signatures feeling less good about
Yeah,
theirs.
yeah. Well, well, you know, my signet. I earned my signet. It doesn't undermine what I've done just because he doesn't want his. This blatant telegraphing that you're going to see a weapon later on because it's announced as the whistling bird. I mean, if you didn't think you might see what that weapon looks like in action later on that episode.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I didn't clock that in first viewing. So if you think I've got this grand perception, I was literally like, whistling bird. I was like, I don't know where they're going with this. This feels like a MacGuffin, to be honest. Oh, whistling. And then even once it had happened, it was only on the second view when she said whistling bird again. I was like, oh, that's the little thing. And stormtroopers finding new ways to excel them. I mean, the last stormtrooper that gets hit by a whistling bird is a good 4 seconds after the first.
I know. I would argue that the first 3 people that get killed by the whistling bird, fair play. Do you know what I mean? After that, it's your own fault. It's essentially suicide.
Yeah.
It's such a... Who watches everybody else in their squadron die and still... I wonder how this is going to pan out. I wonder if I'm going to die in exactly the same way that everyone else here has.
I think I've counted 7 so far. No one carries more than 7 whistling birds. They're Mandalorian.
Can we just talk about how cute Baby Yoda looked when he was asleep in that little machine?
Oh my God. He was like a little Yoda in ICU.
Oh God. It was heartbreaking, wasn't it?
It's his little teeth that get me, the little kind of down to semi-grimace. I don't know why that's endearing.
I also entered a state of high anxiety as he made his way through the stormtroopers while also carrying the child. I found it so difficult to watch that myself. Also, by the way, do a little bit of work on how you pick up a child, just acting. Do you know what I mean? Because
make it look like it's a child.
It's insane. Yeah. Look, you're picking up a fucking sack of potatoes, mate. Like, just make some sort of concession to it being a baby.
Grams of Maris Pipers, wasn't it?
There's a couple of bits that really got me excited, and one was the realization that the Mandalorian was going to go against all the guild code and go back and get Baby Yoda, because it's absolutely heartbreaking when he takes him to the client and then he gets taken off in the egg and he just says, what are you going to do with it? And he says,
makes a little noise.
Yeah, it's all so sad. Yes. And then the whole thing, by the way, it did occur to me how difficult it is when you've got a character that never removes their helmet and doesn't talk a lot to convey what it is that's going through their head. Because when he gets on the spaceship, he's got to convey that he's thought about little Baby Yoda and now he's decided to go and get him. That's what they've got to get across in that scene, right? Except he's not talking and you can't see any facial expression. So what they have is that Yoda was playing with the gear stick on the spaceship. So he goes to... So that's the way they convey it. That whole device is just because they've got no other way of communicating that with you as a viewer.
It's a very good point. I mean, we both sat in like creative meetings and writing meetings. That is one of those ideas that is in no way the best idea of the day, but can solve the most problems.
Yes, 100%.
And like
100%.
You had a whole day of pitching ideas that just got completely ignored, and then suddenly like everyone's buzzing about. Do you know what I mean? About Geoff's little screwy ball thing. Yeah, Geoff's screwy ball thing, brilliant. Just saves us so much time, telegraph it, and then the word gets out about your little screwy ball idea. And you're going, I have way better ideas than that today.
Takes Baby Yoda, and then he's surrounded by all the bounty hunters, and he's not sure what to do. He's pinned down. Apollo Greed shoots the vehicle and brings it to a halt, right? We think he's going to escape, and it gets brought to a halt. And then there's a really, really poignant moment where he looks down at Baby Yoda and there's laser fire all over the top of him. And he sort of accepts, I think, in that moment, that this is it, right? This is... He can't go any further.
He's a Mandalorian. He might have been thinking, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw Baby Yoda up in the air, and as they're shooting the fuck out of him, I'm going to run the other way.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That would have been... I would have said that had that been the way that it had gone, I think I would have experienced rage. If that's the way the writers have decided to go with that.
Just little bits of Baby Yoda flying everywhere.
After breaking his connection with the guild to go and save that baby, for him to decide to essentially use it as some sort of distraction flare for the gunfire as he makes his way out, that would be an incredible decision.
You know, like we spoke about last time about seeing the Jawas, like a bit of resentment being played out against the Jawas with that massacre. You know the little door whore, the guy goes, "Hachuta blinky."
Yeah.
Fucking all up himself because he's running the door. First, I think Hachuta blinky means who the fuck are you in Huttese. I think we can conclude that. We've seen it enough times.
Yes.
So we did Hachuta blinky, right? Seeing him getting screwed up, thrown on the floor, I was fucking clapping.
It's amazing. It was an incredible moment.
Yeah, you didn't realise how annoying that little door fucker is.
It was like somebody that you've always hated at work getting a sack.
Yeah, Phil from accounts. Blinky. Phil, we are downsizing here. What did the Blinky? On the fucking floor, mate. When the Mandalorians do come and save him, I don't know how they know or what it is that possesses them to.
Well, I wondered about this, Geoff, but because I thought the same thing. And I think the way that they found out possibly is because everybody seemed to get the memo that this package had been restolen. Secondly, when he went down with all that big bounty payoff, and he gave it to what's her name? Does she have a name? The smelter.
Oh, the armourer.
The armourer, right? Yeah. So when he went back to the armourer with his bounty, they said to him, "You're hanging around with Imperial scum," basically, right?
Yeah.
And insinuated that he was a prick.
He's an Uncle Tom, isn't he?
Yes.
He's working for the man.
So I wondered if by him going back and rescuing the baby, it was actually they were thinking, "Holy shit, man, this guy's not the little corporate whore that we thought he was. Let's go out there and back him up." Do you know what I mean?
They rock up, and it is heroic. And it says that we're going to have to relocate the covert. Is that what they're called? Like a group of Mandalorians?
Yes. Yeah, I guess, that's the, like a murder of crows. It's a covert of Mandalorians.
But it's incredibly pragmatic of the Mandalorian to think about that in the middle of a gunfight. He's sort of already forward planning.
Yeah.
About having needed new president.
We'll
get some with more office space.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of him going, we'll have to move, We're going to have to move. I loved that moment of all the Mandalorians coming out. It's great, right?
Yeah, it was great. And then I've got to say, just one picky whole bit. Jon Favreau, obviously part of the Iron Man franchise. The bit at the end of that was too.
Oh God!
Fucking Iron Man 3 all
awful.
over.
Do you know what it reminded me? Worse than Iron Man. It reminded me of the Rocketeer. You know that?
God. Yes, yeah. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
That piece of shit. So
it's annoying that was like the very last thing that had happened, but it did feel like that this closed the first part of the story.
Yes.
It was like bang. So I honestly have no idea what's going to happen next. I've got no idea.
Why did they bother to have Apollo Creed make it to a ship like that? What's the point of that? Because
I suppose we could have done without it. Actually, it didn't. It's a good point. It didn't really add anything.
It provides the corniest moment of the entire chapter. That just horrendous. A moment so cheesy that they've already taken the piss out of that trope in Back to the Future 3 years ago, right? And then you have that as a story point.
Well, do you know Andrew with his thing of the screw-on thing that got all the credit?
Yeah.
The other guy, Graham, he suggested the right of that, and they went with it, but they actually lost respect for him at the same time as going for it.
Were they doing that, Geoff? Do you think they were doing that have you seen Stranger Things?
I haven't watched it, no.
So Stranger Things is based in the 80s, and it's got loads of 80s influences, and it deliberately and openly apes things from the 80s. There's a guy that walks around and he's like the Terminator, and he's supposed to be like the Terminator, right? this is a Western, Mandalorian. Up to this point, it looks like it might change tack. But up to this point, it's been a Western. That is a Western thing. Is that like a wink to the audience, as if to say, if we know we're doing a Western, do you know what I mean? Like, is that what that is?
Yeah, if I'm watching Star Wars, I want to be in a galaxy long time ago, far, far away, all that bollocks. I don't want to have something that snaps me back. Those kind of references are for Pixar films when you've got bored parents sitting there going, that was a reference when Harry met Sally. I'll have what she's having. Oh, very good. I want to be in that universe.
I think you've partly hit on why people got so irritated by The Last Jedi, because The Last Jedi had these quirky modern phrasings and things like that just bump you out of the film. And we just don't need that in Star Wars. We want our Star Wars to be taking itself embarrassingly seriously. That's what we want from Star Wars. Yeah,
reverential. Although, weirdly, there are some things that fall between two stools in this. Like, there are bits of, you sort of say, well, in Star Wars, everyone has, like, new space names, but the main character is called Luke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. They go, we don't want him to talk about God, but then Han Solo says, I'll see you in hell. And so it's very, very difficult to explain why, for example, like Han Solo in episode 4, when he's going, we're okay here, situation normal, how are you guys doing, right? Why that works, and Poe going, hold him for General Hux, fuck your mum, or whatever it is that he says, right?
But I agree with you. Yeah. It's weird that there's a difference, but that holding for General, that is one of the worst... one of the worst sections of anything in the Star Wars universe. It's so bad. This episode was, I would say, in conclusion, was better than the first two in terms of it set up what it needed to set up. It seems to have got going now, doesn't it?
It was better as a spectacle. It was a lot less intriguing, if you know what I mean. There's something about 45 minutes to an hour that means you're spending such a long time in a space that your head really goes there.
Yeah.
I think if they keep doing half-hour episodes, I mean, it's very dense and it does bear a quick rewatching. But I'd like a longer episode. I want to hang out there. Do you know what I mean? I don't want it to be. That was as long as an episode of EastEnders. The one thing we do want to know is who is after the child.
Yeah.
It might be his real dad.
It could just be some sort of Jeremy Kyle-esque fatherhoods. You know, it could be somebody's going to turn up dressed like a superhero and want his baby Yoda back. Do you know what I mean? You just don't know.
Well, we spoke about last time about the kind of Fathers for Justice element. When he blows up that Imperial Garrison enclave thing, that is, there are fathers that have to do that sort of thing to get the kids for Easter. So there is.
The number of times I've had to retrieve a hairy egg just to keep the kids happy, you know?
That'd be a thing for Easter if we were having one. But I was glad to not see the fucking hairy egg again. Dooga. Dirty bastards.
Absolutely right. I hope that doesn't become a runner. I hope it's like the hairy egg doesn't become a running snack that people have in various locations during the Mandalorian. That would really piss me off.
I could hate anybody if I saw them eating an egg like that. And anybody. Family, fucking Judi Dench.
Yeah, and then what would happen is like if that existed, you'd get people ordering them at the pub and like necking a hairy egg in one and stuff like that. It'd just be absolutely
making out like they like it. No, I love it, mate. Bit of salt, bit of vinegar. What are you talking about?
Geoff, I will see you for our episode 4, our chapter 4.
Chapter 4.
Our chapter 4 discussion. Thank you very much, mate.
Use the force.